I just clicked.
Okay, so we're ready, right?
We're ready, Mary, you're on.
Good evening. My name is Mary Huffine. I'm a member of the League of Women Voters of Whidbey Island, and I'm also a member of our forum committee. I'll be this evening's moderator. My fellow league panelist is Joanna Rooms, timekeeper. Our co-president, Carol Pulliam, is our Zoom platform manager, and Karin Bolstead is providing additional technical support. I'd like to welcome the candidates participating in tonight's forum, which is co-sponsored by Snow Isle Libraries. We have candidates for Coupeville Mayor, Coupeville School Board positions 1 and 4, and also for Port of Coupeville Commissioner Districts 1 and 3. All candidates receive copies of our league's forum policy and ground rules, as well as recording releases. These documents outline forum structure, expectations for civil discourse, and our commitment to treat all participants with fairness and respect. We appreciate candidates' willingness to participate in this important voter information event. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization that encourages informed and active participation in government. The League works to increase understanding of major public policy issues and influences public policy through research, education, and advocacy. We endeavor to make democracy work by offering events like this, by registering voters, and much more. Go to our website at www.lwvwhidbey.org to learn more or become a member. Snow Isle Library's mission is to provide resources to the community for lifelong learning. Our partnership enables us to pool our resources to provide neutral and unbiased information to the public. Visit the library website at www.snowisle.org to learn about all their services. The format for this evening will be standard Q&A. The questions have been selected in advance by our forum committee, and none of the questions has been disclosed to candidates prior to this forum. The moderator will pose all questions. Each candidate will have an opportunity to answer all questions. Each candidate will also have 2 minutes for a closing statement. The order of the candidates in respect to questions has been determined in advance by league organizers to ensure a random and fair sequence. The first responder to a question will have 90 seconds to answer. The remaining candidates will have 60 seconds to answer. The timekeeper will signal when 15 seconds remain by showing a yellow card or saying 15 seconds, and then showing a red card or saying time's up. This forum is being recorded by the League. A link for viewing it will be posted on our website. No other recording is permitted. Any use of the recording requires approval by the League of Women Voters, Whidbey Island, and then with the caveat that it must be broadcast in its entirety. No candidate is allowed to edit or use the footage for campaign purposes. We'll begin with questions for the candidates for Coupeville Mayor. When candidates have concluded their closing statements, we'll transition to candidates for Coupeville School Board positions 1 and 4, and finally to candidates for Port of Coupeville Commissioner Districts 1 and 3. Let's begin. Coupeville Mayor. The mayor is elected at large for 4-year terms. The mayor is the CEO of the town and officially speaks for both the government and the community as a whole. The mayor is the presiding officer and a regular member of the town council and has all the powers and duties for the office of council member in addition to those of mayor. Our candidates are Molly Hughes and Meg Olson. Welcome. And question 1, when do you expect the updated Coupeville Comprehensive Plan will be adopted? And when it is, how will it support the need for affordable housing? And the first question goes to Molly Hughes. You will have 90 seconds.
Thank you. Well, interesting you ask. The Coupeville Comprehensive Plan will be formally adopted next Tuesday. So just in about 4 days, we will have finished a big, very long 3-year process that was very inclusive of our community. We feel really good about it. It represents our community's priorities. It was a complete update, and it's just really, I think, is in keeping with our town's priorities. As far as housing goes, weirdly, we have to do another update to the comp plan within the next couple years. And two of the areas that we want to put more emphasis in for the next 2 years on the next update is housing and climate adaptability. We have already received, asked for and received about $300,000 strictly to work on those two elements of the comp plan. And so there's different ways we can help housing. We can do a housing access availability study, which we will do. We can look at zoning, which we've already done and we will continue to do. We can look at ways to partner with other organizations, nonprofits, the new land trust organization on the island, Housing on Whidbey, the How Group. It's a really good model to connect nonprofits and municipalities together. We look forward to working with them.
Fine.
Oh, am I done?
It's time.
Thank you. All right, same question to Meg Olson, and you have 60 seconds.
I am looking forward to the adoption of the comprehensive plan next week, and it has really comprehensively reviewed the plans and policies of the town. And I think that housing and affordable housing has been taken a step forward, but it needs to take a few more steps. Housing inventory in Coupeville is one thing, but I think we need to move forward with a housing needs assessment to not only know what is here and how we can create more opportunities for affordable housing, but what is needed, and to balance affordable housing with the needs of the community as well as the character of the community. I know I've heard a great deal of concern from community members who worry that by increasing density, we will impact the character of their neighborhoods. And I think there are a lot of creative opportunities besides zoning for higher density and expanding boundaries, such as accessory dwelling units.
Thank you. Question 2. Would you recommend any changes to Coupeville's interactions with the Navy and also the State Water Quality Monitoring Agency in order to ensure the long-term improved safety of the town's water supply? And this question goes first to Meg Olson. You have 90 seconds.
I think a cornerstone to this and other potential issues affecting the Navy is a strong relationship between Town Hall and with Navy leadership. And I think the town has gone a long way already to securing a safe water supply by working with the Navy, and those efforts need to continue. And in addition, perhaps need to be deepened. The state's Water Quality Monitoring Agency is working continually to monitor water quality here and in other parts of the state. And in all honesty, I don't really see how that can be changed.
Thank you. And same question to Molly Hughes. You have 60 seconds.
Well, thank you. I have worked incredibly closely with the Navy since in the 8 years I've been mayor. I'm on my third base commander right now. We've always had a really good relationship, a strong relationship of supporting each other. As everybody I'm sure knows, the Navy has paid for a state-of-the-art water treatment system for plant for Coupeville, which completely treats PFAS and PFOA down to non-detect levels. The Department of Health, which monitors drinking water, is looking at changing regulations, and of course this is an ongoing changing situation. They're discovering more and more chemicals and compounds in the PFAS family. There's thousands of them literally, and so we will have to continue to be flexible and to change and adapt how we treat our water, stay on top of what the state regulations are. We work very closely with them when determining those regulations because interestingly, Coupeville, little tiny Coupeville has a lot more experience with PFAS than most other water systems in the state. So, okay.
Thank you. Question 3. In your view, what aging infrastructure issues in Coupeville should be top budget priorities? And the question goes first to Molly Hughes, 90 seconds.
We're an old town. We have aging infrastructure. In the past 8 years, we have made leaps in maintaining and improving and replacing aging infrastructure. We have, put all new generators on all of our really important infrastructure for emergency preparedness. We've replaced water lines. We've reduced leakage. We have some of the infrastructure. We also right now have a $250,000 grant to study improving the discharge into Penn Cove. It is a state requirement that's brand new, reducing the nutrients in the water. And we've come up with a very interesting way to do that, solve that problem, as well as maybe find a way to get more water back down into our aquifer. We're really excited about that. That study is going to start really soon, and hopefully money for engineering and construction will be behind it. It's infrastructure for any town is ongoing. In Coupeville, it is, I will admit, we're starting off with a lot of old infrastructure. So, sometimes we're dealing with emergencies and sometimes we're able to plan long-term and make those changes. And we've done a really good job with that and received a lot of grant funds to supplement our taxpayers' money so we can leverage it to get even more done.
Thank you. Same question to you, Meg Olson. You have 60 seconds.
Coupeville definitely, as an older town, I have a home and a business on Front Street, and there are significant infrastructure challenges to Front Street and the historic district. And I think one of the priorities needs to be to secure additional funding, because a town of this size will need federal and state supplemental funding support in order to address these infrastructure issues in a way that isn't just putting out fires, but moving forward with a plan that is structured and looks farther into the future to prioritize these infrastructure upgrades. Something that I think is occasionally neglected, but I've heard a lot from community members in my recent conversations, has been stormwater. And I think upgrades to the stormwater facilities and to the capacity of stormwater facilities will be important, especially as we predict there may be higher precipitation events with the coming climate change.
Thank you. Question 4, what is your philosophy about supporting local businesses? What is the responsibility of local government in this regard? And this question goes to Meg Olson first. You have 90 seconds.
I think that local government and local businesses need to be a partnership. Public-private partnership is the cornerstone of really getting things done in small towns. And if I'm elected, I will make concerted efforts to have more opportunities for public-private partnership that isn't only with larger private entities, but with smaller businesses. There can be a lot of collaboration in that regard. And in addition, collaborating with local organizations, the Coupeville Historic Waterfront Association, the Chamber of Commerce. In a town this size, it truly needs to be an organic, collaborative, and consensus building effort to support our local businesses. And especially when it comes to the Coupeville Historic Waterfront area, this is a strong economic driver that has the opportunity to grow. And I'm hopeful that government and businesses can work really collaboratively to move forward in an organic way towards the future.
Thank you. Same question to Molly Hughes. You have 60 seconds.
Thank you. I agree. That the town and the business community have to work together, and that is all the businesses in Coupeville. There's a lot of the historic district is an important part of our economy and our tourism trade. There's a lot of other businesses in town also that need attention and get attention from town hall and the mayor. I have worked very closely with the chamber and the Coupeville Historic Waterfront Association, as well as the schools, the other businesses on South Main, the county. There is a lot of collaborative work that needs to be done in supporting businesses. During COVID, for example, the town was fortunate to be able to support our small businesses during COVID by passing on state and federal grants to help them during that hard time, purchasing equipment, masks, gloves, sanitizer, stuff to help the small businesses that couldn't get that stuff on their own. There's
Thank you. And same question. Oh, let's see, we're on the new question, aren't we? Question 5. If you could start an initiative as mayor, on what topic would it focus? And this goes to Molly Hughes first, 90 seconds.
Is right.
Well, there's a lot of good things, important things, fun things. If I was going to start something brand new, I have said, and I do plan to want to do some really focused work with our park and rec system. It has really kind of taken a back seat in the last several years. And I think the demographics of our town have changed. And I think we've got more families and more young people that we should serve better with our park and rec system. And that would be a fun project to work on with our community. And we have been setting money aside to do that. So we can make some progress there. Look forward to continuing the work that we started with the sea level rise study. The next step will be to actually work with some experts to come up with some solutions to some of the problems we identified. There's a lot of information out there. We look towards experts to help us find that information out. This will be, again, an ongoing program, just like PFAS, dealing with PFAS, and there won't be a one-size-all answer for sea level rise or any climate change. The shoreline is different. The answers will be different. There's things beyond the shoreline. There is stormwater issues that are new because of the extra rain, extra snowfall we're getting. We need to look at some areas in town that need to be upgraded to deal with that additional water. Those are 2 things that would be fun to work on.
Thank you. And same question to Meg Olson. You have 60 seconds.
And Molly snafudioed me and got to Parks and Recreation first. That's something that's also very important to me. We are, through our business at Kingfisher Bookstore, we have strong programming for children, and I've definitely noticed more and more young families have become part of Coupeville after COVID-19 and a little migration that went on with that. So I would also really love to look at working on parks infrastructure, but also recreation programs. Back to that idea of a public-private partnership, there are a lot of things that the town could do in partnership with local businesses to develop recreation opportunities for young families, as well as we have a strong retired population, as well as for our older residents, things like pickleball, and just some programming that I think could be developed in a cost-effective fashion with public-private partnerships. Another thing that...
Thank you. Question 6. How would you address Coupeville's preparation and response to climate change? For example, green utilities and city vehicles and long-term high waterline safety of city buildings and utilities. Goes first to Meg Olson, 90 seconds.
I think that the first step in preparation is planning. And the Coupeville's the risk assessment study was done, identified a number of areas along Front Street as well as our wastewater treatment plant. And I think the adaptation study that is currently underway will be highlighting those red light areas because they are most at risk for sea level rise. However, there are other effects of climate change, extreme precipitation events specifically, that need to also be incorporated into that plan. So again, the first step is planning, but I would also highlight that an adaptation plan without funding to pay for what will be a very costly infrastructure changes to address that is not as useful. And I would definitely work towards aggressively acquiring federal funding to put those adaptation plans in action. As far as city vehicles, green vehicles, or any drop of water raises the sea. Anything that the town can do to increase its energy efficiency in the long term will be better for the planet as a whole. And we have just put in place on our building on Front Street some interesting sort of out of the box ideas to protect our building from high
Fine.
water.
Thank you. And same question to Molly Hughes. You have 60 seconds.
I think we are like I said, in the process of figuring out what are the best responses to climate change, not only, again, not just on a shoreline, but within the whole town. There are lots of different options out there. I think we have to look at all of them. Green utilities today spent 2 hours with the Department of Commerce talking about state and federal funding for green power. And I am really excited about looking at some hydro projects, not necessarily solar, but there's some interesting projects that could be done on our wells and our water treatment plant to produce, not only just to produce power to reduce our bills. I'm really more interested in making our utilities sustainable and workable during emergencies. Really very interested in emergency preparation to keep our utilities going. As storms get worse, power goes out longer. We have a responsibility to provide critical utility services to our town, and looking at those things.
Thank you. Let's move on now to closing statements. And Meg Olson, you can go first. 2 minutes.
Thank you. I'd first like to thank everybody who is participating as a panelist or as an attendee. Discussion is the lifeblood of democracy. And by participating in efforts such as these, I think you bring value to us as a society. I am deeply invested in Coupeville. My home and our business are on Front Street. And I have been working with neighbors and stakeholders and the Waterfront Association to strengthen our downtown core as it becomes a thriving year-round economic driver, while ensuring that it remains the historic heart of this wonderful community. With experience as a small business owner and years working in small communities as a journalist covering local government, and time spent as a city council member in Blaine, I would bring a broad skill set to the position of Coupeville mayor. Bringing on board an experienced town administrator, I'll create an effective, efficient, and inclusive town hall that can work with the community to tackle some tough challenges. We spoke of the effects of sea level rise, balancing affordable housing with community character, aging infrastructure. But ultimately, leadership is about listening. It's about listening to community members, even when they disagree with you. Listening to a staff member when they have an idea that's sort of wacky. Listening to a stakeholder's perspective when you may not share their priorities. Building a team of people who have experience, skills, and knowledge, and listening to them, actively listening. The more you listen, the more information you have to work towards decisions built on consensus and comprehensive information. I am a good listener. I build great teams. I build consensus, and I will make a good mayor.
Thank you. Molly Hughes, your 2-minute closing statement.
Thank you. I'd also like to thank the League of Women Voters for always providing these forums and an opportunity for us to be able to speak to the voters, and appreciate the voters that take the time to attend them to learn more about the candidates that are running for these positions. It's it takes a lot of nerve to put your name on a ballot, and I appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak for yourself and get your get your priorities out there. I'm happy to have the opportunity to say why I'm running again for the mayor's position of Coupeville, and why I think I'm the best candidate. I've had years of experience as a council member here, years of experience as the mayor, been living here for 30 years, been an active volunteer in the community in all different types of groups. So I've had an opportunity to meet and work with all kinds of different people that live in our town, in our town and the surrounding area. It's a privilege to live here, and it's a privilege to serve my community in this way as the mayor. I feel like I do a good job as the town, as if you want to call the position the town administrator, but it's really the mayor. I think I am a better mayor and a better employee because I do work full time. I'm in town hall all the time. I get to talk to the staff all the time. I know their work and their priorities in detail. I'm available to the community this way. I'm available to stakeholders and our partners, whether that be other municipalities on the island or other nonprofits or service groups that we work with to get jobs done. I think it makes me a better mayor to be full-time. I look forward to working on new projects in the future. We've already spoken about them. Continue the cleanup with the Navy on PFAS. Continue working on our infrastructure, keeping that up and running. Oh, thank you. Appreciate your support.
Thank you. Thank you, Molly Hughes and Meg Olson. Next, we're going to proceed with our Q&A for a panel of candidates for Coupeville School Board, positions 1 and 4. The Washington School Board standards provide a common framework for school board governance for local school boards and directors. One set of standards addresses the school board's leadership role in governing and includes responsible governance, expectations for student learning, conditions for student and staff success, accountability, and community engagement. The other set addresses professional standards for individual school directors and includes values and ethical behavior, leadership, communication, growth and learning, and accountability. Directors serve 4-year terms. So present tonight for position 1 is Charles Merwine. Leanne Levitt unfortunately did not respond to our 3 invitations, so voters won't be able to hear her views. Present tonight for position 4 is Allison Pereira. David Ford is absent due to required Navy Reserves training, so I'll read his candidate statement later. Question 1. Social media has taken bullying to a new level. As a school board member, what support do you believe should be provided to students, teachers, and staff to decrease incidents of bullying and threats to students? And this question goes first to Charles Merwine. 90 seconds.
Okay. Excuse me. Sorry. Yeah, I believe the bullying brought about by social media is one of the biggest problems that the school district faces. And as a school board member, I'd like to promote whatever we can do to create a climate that helps people deal with social media. And I think part of that is that teachers could use some support, some training in how to be aware of and what to do about just social media problems in general. The onset of social media in the last, I'd say just 10 years has brought on a whole new level of problems. And I think having the connections with students is a vital to it, and also with parents. I think parents could use some support. Actually, we need to listen to and talk to parents, because some parents have real good ideas about how to do it. Excuse me. I cannot get my phone to quit making noises. Some parents have really good ideas about how to social media. And if we could share those, I think it would help a lot of other parents that are struggling about what to do about helping their students deal with social media. I know that some of the tech things that the district can do can help a little bit in spotting some bullying if it's done on the school network. But outside of that, they met with that.
Thank you. Same question to Allison Pereira. You have 60 seconds.
Thank you. Social media is certainly everywhere, especially in our secondary schools. When it comes to social media being used to bully, one of the largest ways that that comes about is when students make inappropriate use of the cameras on their phones, when they have cameras on their person at all times. And one of the very fortunate policies that our school district has enacted is limiting the use of cell phones in the schools. And in my experience, I do believe that that's dramatically limited the impact of bullying being used through social media in a way that the schools can prevent. That certainly doesn't stop it from happening outside of the school day. And that's why we also have comprehensive behavioral health counseling and general supports to make sure that we have a positive culture and climate in our schools and improve the relationships between students that way.
Thank you. Question 2. How can the school board best respond to student homelessness in practical, programmatic ways in concert with the federal McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Act? And this question will go first to Allison Pereira, 90 seconds.
Thanks. So in Coupeville, we have gone ahead and established a full-time social worker in our district who is taking on the role of our McKinney-Vento liaison and advisor for students who fall under that umbrella. She's doing a great job. Among other things, she's seeking out grant support to be able to give assistance to students, whether it be for transportation needs or clothing and hygiene needs, supporting them in having the materials that they need to go to school, musical instruments. We also have in our district the Open Den program, which is a youth re-engagement program that supports students ages 16 to 21 in completing their high school education. And in our district, we have this program embedded with wraparound social services that really support students with a range of different housing needs and stability. And this helps to give them the support that they need to be able to access and engage with their education. So I think we're doing a great job, and I hope we continue.
Thank you. Same question to Charles Merwine, 60 seconds for you.
Well, I'm going to respond by saying that I agree that the school has really been putting a lot of effort into helping with students with homelessness and other issues. I through my work with the Coupeville Schools Foundation, we have helped create some of these spaces where there's clothing, and we've worked closely with, for instance, we just worked closely with the school to try and get a grant to provide transportation for a great program that the school started called the Dino program that gives students new experiences during their early outs. So I think, I guess I'd say that I'm proud of the way that the school district has really been putting as many resources as they can and looking for grants to help. I think they really appreciate that these students need help, and we're trying to give them a level playing field that's very equitable.
Aye.
Thank you. Question 3. What programs and courses would you recommend the school district emphasize or eliminate? The question goes first to Charles Merwine, 90 seconds.
Well, I think as far as what we would emphasize, and we hear this a lot, is the district should be trying to do as much as it can in the area of CTE, or what we would have called voc ed a long time ago. This is a very difficult road for a school district of our size, but it's one that I just think in today's job employment situation and what desires of students that don't always want to go to a 4-year college or even a 2-year college, that we need to work on having programs that give them a different pathway to a successful life. And that would be the number one. And it's also the hardest course of our programs to get. As far as eliminating, I don't think I can't think of one to eliminate. I guess other areas that I think we should also try to emphasize are areas that involve technology, as far as coding, working on hands-on with computers, and I think this is something that would help students be prepared for life after high school.
Time.
Okay.
Thank you. And Allison Pereira, you have 60 seconds. Same question.
Thanks. Well, as the middle school robotics coach, I definitely would have to say that I would encourage any emphasis on STEM concerns in our schools. It's always great when science, technology, engineering, and math can be a focus, because not only does that support critical thinking skills and problem solving, but it also gives our students a sense of understanding of the world around them. And that understanding can even help to engage them with reading comprehension and to be able to understand the written word, so it enhances literacy. So we have a fairly strong thread of STEM education that starts at the elementary school with our STEM specialist. And I'd love to see that enhanced and strengthened all the way up through the schools.
Thank you. Question 4. What should be school district policy on private funding of personnel or curriculum, such as through GoFundMe or other school support groups? And this question goes first to Allison Pereira, 90 seconds.
Yes, in our current tight budget times, it's certainly hard not to accept support wherever it comes from. But I definitely am glad that our current school district policy does have the school board approving the receipt of any large donation. And I think that that's really important, because it is the role of the school board to determine what the emphasis and priority for our district should be. And it's not really appropriate to cede that responsibility to someone just because they're offering money. It's also pretty important that our district needs to be aware of ongoing costs. And so anytime we do receive a large donation, we need to be fully aware of the repercussions that might take us down the line. So the school district policy on private funding and approving those kinds of donations, I think, is the appropriate way to go. That being said, when a school support group comes in with funding for an existing program or something that has already gotten support and is already helping our students, I think that generally tends to be a no-brainer, and we're always very grateful when those solicited donations are able to help us close budget gaps.
Thank you. Same question to Charles Merwine, 60 seconds.
Well, I agree with Ms. Pereira on most of that. it's a sticky wicket to take money for private funding of personnel. I know a lot of times when people do that, it's great, but then there's a year two, and now who's going to fund it? Is this typically when these offers come in for private funding of personnel, they're not coming in for year two, and the district just can't commit to maintaining positions just because they get started with private personnel. So yeah, the board has to approve these things, and I agree that's a good policy, because it's not an ironclad situation every time, but it is something that it's the board's job to allocate money, and you have to be careful with outside funding just being kind of put forward to the district. The school board has to think about that very carefully.
Fine.
Thank you. Question 5. How should the school district respond to climate change with regard to green utilities, vehicles, and buildings, and also curriculum, educating the students about the topic? Charles Merwine, 90 seconds.
Well, I think I'm going to kind of start with the bottom, which is educating students about the topic. I think this is just as a civic responsibility. We need to turn out students who are aware of the issues with climate change, energy usage, and so that they are graduated into the world with a good knowledge and understanding of issues that they're going to be facing as voters. Whether that can be, and that it's not going to be, it's going to be something that's built into our existing courses. But I think it's an important topic. It's one that actually, nationwide, there's some resistance to putting that kind of topic in there, just like evolution. Sometimes that people don't really want students to be educated there, but we really need to. As far as the district itself, yeah, I think the district should be, as much as it can with the resources it has, be a leader in showing, being a green school. That should always be our goal, whether it's saving on utilities, if we can use solar, if we can use vehicles that are more eco-friendly. With the resources we have, sometimes those cost a little more to get started, but if we can afford to do it, we should promote ourselves as a green.
Fine.
Thank you.
Okay.
Same question to Allison Pereira, 60 seconds for you.
Yeah, so certainly climate science is a fundamental part of any modern science curriculum and should not be excluded, and our current science curriculum does. As we go towards our review cycle and look again at our next adoption of science curriculum in the next few years, I'm sure that'll be at the top of the list as well. It's just part of fundamentally teaching our students accurate science and about the world around them. In terms of our school district, it's funny, my robotics students actually came up with a proposal last spring to install solar panels on the roof of the high school building. And based on their research and their back of the envelope calculations, they figured that we could put in panels that would pay for themselves within 7 years. And I don't know that those kinds of investments are what we can do right now, but certainly sustainability and climate mitigation are part of the responsibility of a district.
Fine.
And
Thank you. Question 6. What is your thinking about parental involvement in school district curriculum, library, and policy decisions? And this goes to Allison Pereira, 90 seconds.
I started my involvement with the school district's instructional materials committee as a parent member of that committee. I think that interested parents should understand and be a part of the process, but that doesn't override the fact that curriculum decisions, library book decisions, policy decisions should be made by those who are the most knowledgeable about them. As a parent member of the committee, I saw my role as mostly sitting and learning from the professional educators who were very comprehensively evaluating the nature of the curriculum and what we teach our students and what is best practice and what is educationally sound and also representative of our diverse student body and the needs of all of our different students. And all of those concerns have to be part of the process. And our district policy also includes a community review of any curriculum adoptions that allows for parents, but also community members to be fully aware of what's going on with the materials that we adopt in our district. But because of the process that we go through to be able to bring those new materials in, I'm fully confident in them. And I hope that the parents who want to be involved are also very confident in what our teachers are doing.
Thank you. And same question to Charles Merwine. You have 60 seconds.
Oh, you're muted, Mr. Merwine.
I have been involved as a teacher on the school instructional materials committee. And parental involvement is valuable in those to get their input. But in the end, it is valuable. And we always took that into consideration. And I think that's very important. I guess I'm kind of, when I come to the word library, I think of all the controversy nationwide about book banning. And I haven't gotten a lot of questions from the community so far, but the ones I've gotten typically have been about book banning. And I think on parental involvement in that, there is a way for parents to submit issues that they might have with the book, and there's a procedure for taking care of them. But in general, I am not in favor of an overly sensitive minority being able to dictate to the rest of the students what they do about library books. So I guess I'm saying if this question is asking about
Time.
book banning, I'm against it.
Finish your sentence. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move to the closing statements, and we'll go in the order given on the screen. Everybody has 2 minutes each. Charles Merwine.
Unmuted. Well, first, I'd like to follow up with everybody else and like to thank the League of Women Voters for sponsoring the forum. It's an important community service that takes a lot of work and preparation, and it's one of the many things the League does to promote an informed electorate.
Oh, you're muted again.
Oops.
Sorry.
I
There we go.
stopped your timer, so it's okay.
Okay. Thank you. I would like to thank everyone that's listening now, whether it's video or tape, because you're taking time out of your busy life to be as informed as you can be. And I appreciate how seriously you're taking your civic duty to vote. And so no matter where your vote lands, you are to be congratulated for that. So I thought I would just share a very few words about my general philosophy on school boards and school board members. An important measure of a board's effectiveness is, do they get the best out of administrators, teachers, and staff? Because they are the people that do the work day in and day out. They do the heavy lifting of educating students, and the fortunes of the school district rise and fall on the work of these people. Thus, it's important that a board fosters a climate where everyone, from the superintendent on down, feels valued, motivated, and empowered to get the job done. So a good school board member needs to be someone who works well with others and can bring out the best in people. And providing leadership in that area, that's in my wheelhouse. And I would be an experienced, knowledgeable, positive, encouraging, supportive force for the district. And I would ask for your vote so that I can do that. And I would remind everyone to vote, but hey, you've listened to this. I know you're going to vote, but your neighbor, your friends, your colleagues, they may need a reminder. So I'd ask you to remind them to make voting a habit. And I'm done.
Thank you. At this point, I'm going to read David Ford's statement. He couldn't be with us because of Navy duties. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is David Ford, and I'm running for the Coupeville School Board. First off, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for allowing me the opportunity to participate tonight. I'd also like to thank the Washington Education Association, the CEA, and CESA for endorsing my campaign. I would have preferred to be in person, but as an active member of the Navy Reserves, duty calls. To state that I have an invested interest in the success of the Coupeville School District is an understatement. Both my lovely wife and I were raised and graduated from Coupeville, and 5 generations of my family have attended Coupeville schools with 2 granddaughters currently in elementary school. I am a passionate advocate for the future of our children while ensuring that education remains a priority. Our community, known for its work ethic and compassion, deserves an educational system that is just as focused and equitable. I plan to focus my efforts on the following priorities. Mental health and well-being. The well-being and safety of our students and staff is paramount. We need comprehensive programs that prioritize mental health, helping our children navigate the pressures and challenges they face while providing the staff with their own resources to cope with having to do more with less. Transparency and accountability. I promise to maintain a culture of transparency. Every decision, every policy, and every dollar spent should be openly accounted for and justified to you, the community. Finally, support for our educators. Our teachers are the backbone of the school district. It's essential that they are given continuous opportunities for professional development and growth while ensuring that they have the time and resources to focus on our students. Not one school board director has all the answers. I have been encouraged by the hard work and dedication of the current board to identify priorities, set expectations of accountability and transparency, and I'd like to be part of the solution. I seek your partnership, your advice, and your commitment. Let's roll up our sleeves together and forge a path to build stronger schools for brighter futures. Thank you. All right, and Allison Pereira, you have a 2-minute closing statement.
Thank you. And thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting tonight. A lot has changed for everyone over the past 4 years or so. You could say that the only constant has been change. And all that uncertainty, it takes a toll. It's worn us all down, our community members, our students, our families, our staff. And it's affected our ability to be confident in what the future could bring, and it's affected our students' mental health and their well-being. What Coupeville School District and our district deserve is stability. It's time to get back to long-range planning, strategic focus, and trust. After spending years showing up to enhance the opportunities available to our Coupeville kids, as a board member, I remain committed to keep showing up and doing the work to keep our district on track. If I'm elected, I want to look back on 4 years of board service to see positive, measurable change for everyone who's impacted by our school district. I want our staff to feel like the work they do is fully supported by the district, that it's part of a strategic big picture. I want our students to feel empowered to engage in their own education and to take confident steps into their own future. And I want our community members to be welcomed as part of a district culture that thrives on collaboration and mutual support. I believe that an effective school board is the thread that ties all those outcomes together. We've already started on the right path by distilling our community vision into a comprehensive strategic plan for our schools. And now it's time for our school board team to take the next steps, to work together with all of Coupeville's stakeholders to fulfill that promise of student success. So I'm excited to keep continuing this work, and I hope you'll trust me with your vote.
Thank you. Thank you to Charles Merwine and Allison Pereira for being here tonight. And we'll proceed next with our Q&A for the panel of candidates for the Port of Coupeville Commissioner Districts 1 and 3. The Port of Coupeville owns and manages 3 properties: the Coupeville Wharf, 24 Front Street, and the Greenbank Farm. Port commissioners are responsible for the health and future of these historic properties, as well as the economic vitality and growth within the communities they serve. Port commissions establish long-term strategies for a port district and create policies to guide the development, growth, and operation of the port. They are also responsible for a port's annual budgets, approving tax levy rates, and hiring the professional staff members responsible for a port's daily functions. Commissioners serve 4-year terms. So present tonight for Commissioner District 1 are candidates Marianne Burr and Bradley Duncan. Present tonight for Commissioner District 3 is Angela Ewert. John Callahan has withdrawn his candidacy for personal reasons, and at his request, he wishes to go on the record as supporting and endorsing his opponent, Angela Ewert. Question 1. What are the greatest professional strengths you'd bring as a port commissioner? And this goes to Angela Ewert, 90 seconds.
Hi there. Thanks for the opportunity tonight. So I think professional strengths that I bring include leadership, advocacy, and transparency. Currently, my full-time job is working for Snohomish County Councilmember Jared Mead. And in that role, I've learned about taxpayer fiduciary responsibility, accountability, and being a voice for the constituents you serve. So I think that those strengths will translate really nicely into this position and representing the communities I serve here in Whidbey Island.
Thank you. Same question to Marianne Burr, District 1, and I don't think you can see the screen, so I'm going to read the question again. What are the greatest professional strengths you'd bring as a port commissioner? 60 seconds.
Thank you for asking. I moved here in 1984, and in 1985, it became apparent that my district for water needed improvement. I was quite active in the formation of Crockett Lake Water District and have been a water commissioner for many of the years since then. I believe I am really qualified because I have dealt with all of the same small district issues that the port faces. Finances, grants, project management are all in my history, and I hope to bring that to the Port of Coupeville to help negotiate all the issues that are coming up.
Thank you. Same question to Bradley Duncan. You have 60 seconds.
Thank you. I think the professional strengths that I possess and that I could bring to this position are essentially rooted in my professional background. I've been a lawyer. I've been a practicing lawyer for 35 years with large law firms on both coasts. I started my career in the District of Columbia and have returned to the Pacific Northwest about 18 years ago. I've spent essentially the bulk of my career involved in large sort of unraveling and solving problems associated with large financial institutions. I think my skills include listening. I think they certainly include developing an understanding of the nature of the problem and working through financial problems to a result that makes sense. In a lot of ways, I think the issues that the port faces are financial in nature, basically balancing expenses against revenues, and working through those sorts of problems, dealing with those sorts of issues are essentially what I've done my entire career.
Thank you. Question 2. Are you satisfied that the Port of Coupeville Commission historically has been working within its official purview? And what changes or limits, if any, would you want to see moving forward? And this question goes first to Bradley Duncan, 90 seconds.
I think it has for the, if the question is whether it's been operating within its sort of formal legal purview, I think it has. It was created for the purpose of administering the assets it presently administers. Clearly over the last couple of years, there have been questions about whether the port has been expanding into areas that might not be prudent. But I think as a legal matter, it is the case that the port has been is authorized as a matter of law to do the things that it's been doing. And in fact, the options available to a port like this are extraordinarily broad. I think there are opportunities for the port to actually expand what it does. Its broad charge is to participate in efforts to participate in the economic development of the community. I think there are opportunities to do that. Clearly, the port needs to keep its eye on the ball, needs to remain focused on administering the assets that it has historically been responsible for. But I'm comfortable that the port historically has been doing what it is supposed to have been doing. I think the broader question is whether it ought to expand its activities.
Thank you. Mary Ann Burr, same question to you for 60 seconds, and I'll read it again for you. Are you satisfied that the Port of Coupeville Commission historically has been working within its official purview? And what changes or limits, if any, would you want to see moving forward?
Thank you so much. The finances of the port have been an issue for at least 25 years. And now we have good news. Finally, we have positive action towards the rehabilitation of our Coupeville Wharf and Greenbank Farm. The new non-voted tax has been implemented to collect millions of dollars to finally create the wharf and the farm the way it should be in order to provide economic development within the properties we already own. Once they're fixed, once they operate the way they should be, the way they were originally designed historically to operate, the Port Board can expand the economic development opportunities right here at home with what we already have.
Hi.
Thank you.
Thank you. District 3, Angela Ewert, same question. 60 seconds.
Thank you. I think that it historically has been working within its official purview. And I think, again, the question is, are there opportunities to kind of expand the port's purview, or maybe not official purview, but expand its opportunities economically to serve the constituents? I think when we think about costs, we think about operations and maintenance, but I think in an official capacity, the port has been doing a really good job of finding those opportunities, leveraging grants to fund the projects that it deems necessary as we think about climate change and impacts of that. And then what I would like to see moving forward is just exploring more touch points for the community, and then also exploring more opportunities for revenue that don't heavily burden the constituents that we serve.
Fine.
Thank you. Question 3. What aging infrastructure issue would be your top priority, and how would you go about finding remedies for it? And this question goes to Mary Ann Burr, 90 seconds.
Oh, thank you. I'm back on my topic of the good news. As the projects proceed to rehabilitate what we own, I believe it is the responsibility of the board to make sure that our taxes are being spent in the most advantageous way for the future of these facilities. Done right, these projects will in the future reduce the costs of maintenance and make operation so much easier that the expense level of the port is bound to drop. The reason the payroll has to be as high as it is, for many years there were so many emergencies, so many call outs, so many expenses to repair and keep things going. Once the rehab is finished, those expenses should be gone if the commissioners pay attention and have input into what the rehab projects are and how they are prioritized. The money will not do it by itself. It will take port commissioner interaction with staff in order to see that the tax money we are contributing along with our grants is spent in the most advantageous way for the future of the port facilities.
Time.
Thank you. And same question to Bradley Duncan, 60 seconds.
Mary Ann did not say a thing that I disagree with. I completely agree. The port's responsibility, the port has been charged by the community with the job of stewarding these three assets. And right now the port is sitting on a good amount of money, and it is essential that those funds, which are the product of levies and taxes for the purpose of administering assets, should be applied to those assets. And I couldn't agree with her more that the job of a commissioner in this context will be to ensure that the dollars the community has entrusted us with are spent wisely. And I agree with her that if they are spent wisely, that'll have the effect of reducing the expense obligation going forward, and should free the port up to look at other opportunities to help the community in terms of economic development. So we agree on that.
Time.
Thank you. Angela Ewert, same question, and you have 90 seconds. 60 seconds.
Thank you. So I think about Coupeville Wharf and how the current commissioners have done a really good job, and executive director have done a really good job of leveraging grants, leveraging some of that levy dollars, and finding ways to kind of bring that infrastructure up to par with what we're seeing the impacts of climate change are. One that comes to mind is broadband access, although I don't know that it necessarily falls into the category of aging infrastructure. I do think that it is an opportunity that the port could explore, and is exploring, but further explore about getting accessible and affordable broadband to all of our constituents. I think as we've learned from the COVID pandemic, that internet is pretty much a necessity at this point, especially kind of where we live. So just thinking about how do we make sure that infrastructure is accessible for all of the constituents we serve, and then how do we leverage our funding and then state and federal dollars that we might have left on the table to. Thank you.
Thank you. Question 4. What actions do you propose to reduce the port's climate footprint? Or will you commit to making the port compliant with the Paris Agreement? Angela Ewert, you have 90 seconds.
Thank you. So I think about our solar footprint at Greenbank Farm. I think that's a really great first step. I would like to see kind of more of an electric charging facility at Greenbank Farm. And then also how are we looking at our fleet facilities? And is there opportunity for us to go electric and then serve those fleet vehicles with the solar panels that we have on Green Bank Farm? I think that's an opportunity that has federal dollars on the table, and that one is worth exploring. So as far as reducing our climate footprint, I think that's a low-hanging fruit, so to speak.
Thank you. And let's see, District 1, Bradley Duncan, 60 seconds, same question.
With respect to actions to reduce the port's climate footprint, I don't know that I would have any particular concrete action at this point in mind, other than to emphasize that essentially every decision we make about the port's capital assets ought to be taken with climate issues in mind. Certainly, whatever we do should be designed and undertaken with the advice of experts to ensure that we minimize our climate footprint. So I think from my perspective, it's as much a way of thinking about what we do as it is about particular concrete actions going forward. In terms of making the port compliant with the Paris Agreement, absolutely. That is a commitment I'd be happy to make on behalf of the port.
Thank you. And Mary Ann Burr, same question, and I'll read it for you. What actions do you propose to reduce the port's climate footprint? Will you commit to making the port compliant with the Paris Agreement? 60 seconds.
Thank you. I believe that Angela has mentioned the important contributions that the port has already made in regard to the solar panels and electric vehicle charging stations. It is my feeling that the main thing that the port is doing in regard to a small footprint is the maintenance of the open space at Greenbank Farm. As time moves on, open space such as the farm will become more and more valuable. Once the infrastructures, the septic and the water and the electricity, using the available grants for electric improvement, that farm will be more and more valuable as an open space for the use of the public. There aren't that many places in the country that are that beautiful, that are that open, and that exemplify the green lifestyle.
Thank you. Let's move on to your closing statements, and we'll go in alphabetical order by district. 2 minutes each. And Mary Ann Burr, you're first.
Thank you. I hope that the port officials can focus on the rehab projects being started with our significant tax levy devoted to that purpose. After many, many years of missteps financially, the board must show the public that it can complete the work that our special taxes are paying for now. It will take a significant level of public trust and support for the port to venture out into new realms. What happens in the future needs to be up to the public voice, not just the voices of the 3 commissioners. It's very important that the finances are presented in a way that's easy for commissioners and the public to understand. And whenever a new idea is brought up, the possible negative effects must be investigated and considered, because no matter how wonderful a new idea is, it takes public money from the port to maintain and operate it. Grants don't pay that part of the deal. I hope that everyone understands that if we don't take care of the present, there may not be a future. I hope that I will have the support of the public because I believe the future depends on the public and their voice. And I certainly agree with Mr. Merwine, who suggests that it's very important that you tell everyone you know to vote. To have decisions made by only a small portion of the public is very disheartening
Thank
for
you.
those of
Time.
us who depend on democracy. Thank you.
Thank you. And District 1, Bradley Duncan, you have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Thank you. And I join everyone who's come before in thanking the League of Women Voters for putting this sort of forum together. It's incredibly valuable. To my mind, the port is in a really interesting place right now. Historically, it has been responsible for the administration of these assets, these incredibly valuable assets, these assets that are critical to the identity of this beautiful community. I'm new to the community. I've lived on the island for 2 years, essentially. I am interested in this position because I think I have a skill set that I can bring to the types of problems that the port will confront, which, as I said earlier, I think are largely financial, but not entirely financial. And as I say, I think the port is in a really interesting position right now. It is in a position to address some endemic problems that have plagued the facilities for some time. It can do that, and I certainly agree with Marianne that the port's focus ought to be in taking the assets available to it, taking the funds presently available to it, and ensuring that that work is done well. But problems will arise in the future. I think historically there has been a bit of a disconnect between the port and the community that funds the port with respect to certain issues. And we know what most of those issues are. Going forward, the port will face new challenges. The revenue problem is never really going to go away. And I think the challenge as we think about the port's future is to balance what it has done historically with some of the opportunities that are available going into the future. I agree with Marianne completely that as we think about what the port's going to look like in the future, we need to ensure that we are communicating with the public and that it understands that to the extent it's going to be funding some of these things, that funding and the application of that funding is going to be done very responsibly. I think it's an exciting challenge.
Thank you. And District 3, Angela Ewert, you have 2 minutes.
I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this candidate forum to give voters an opportunity to learn about their candidates, but also for giving candidates an opportunity to talk to the voters about the issues that they care about. Whidbey Island is such a special community with people who clearly care about the places that they call home. If elected, I will use my time in office to represent my community in overseeing the operation, maintenance, and longevity of the Coupeville Wharf and the Green Bank Farm. With a strong background in local government, I plan to leverage my experience to practice fiscal responsibility, transparency, and accessibility to my constituents. In this role, I want to work collaboratively with local organizations, local businesses, and local and state and federal governments to leverage opportunities for the port and for the larger community of Whidbey Island. This collaborative approach can help our community mitigate issues such as climate change and create new opportunities, and honestly, share resources to better serve our communities. I hope that people will vote for me as someone who wants to work for constituents by approaching issues with a pragmatic lens, listening to constituents, addressing concerns, and making the Port of Coupeville a welcome place for everybody. I'm looking forward to the opportunity to earn the trust of the voters, advocate for my community, and bring new ideas to the Port of Coupeville and the properties that we serve.
Thank you. And thank you all three candidates for being here, Mary Ann Burr, Bradley Duncan, and Angela Ewert. That concludes our questions for this evening. Thank you all for attending. I also want to recognize Carla Grau-Egerton, Forum Committee Chair, and my fellow committee members for their hard work. And special thanks to our league co-president and platform manager, Carol Pulliam, for making our virtual forums a success. One final note, ballots were mailed out. If you haven't received a ballot by October 30th, contact the auditor's office at 360-678-8290. To find a secure ballot drop box near you, go to elections@islandcountywa.gov. If you choose to mail your ballot, remember it must be postmarked on or before Election Day, November 7th. If you or someone you know has not yet registered to vote, you can still register online until October 30th or in person at the auditor's office on Election Day. Thank you again and have a good evening.